You're tuned in to the Development Tank Podcast with Peter Kelly.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Development Tank. Firstly, thanks so much for the engagement. Thanks so much for all the questions. It's definitely super exciting to see the questions coming through and to see that you guys are really sort of soaking this up. Any feedback, please don't be shy. You know, we're big boys in here. We can deal with it. So please let us know if there are any queries. Please hit us up. I'm in there every day. Love it. Love hitting you guys up and answering your questions. So yeah, super excited with that. What you guys can expect from today's episodes. We're back in the office, as you can see. We've got Gav back here for Siteinsiders. If you know, you know. So great to have him back. He was at the auctions on Saturday with the client. He missed out on the site, but we really want to unpack what it was, why we thought it was a great opportunity, and it's hot off the press. So on release, that's 5 days ago. So 5 days ago, Gav was at an auction, and we're bringing it to you, in real time, essentially. So that's super exciting. And we've got Claire. We've got Claire on her first development tank, first of many we're aiming for. She's running our project Snapshot. So we're bringing to you 23 Summit in Hampton East. We spoke about the feasibility and acquisition stage in the previous episode. So please go back and hit that one up. It's the first segment. Get yourself across that. Then you can dive into this one and see where we're up to. And yeah, they're coming up great. Designs look great. So please stick around for that. Something I did want to touch on with you guys. It's a sentiment thing, and we see it as a driver, multiple drivers actually, that we think will drive the next 18 to 36 months here in Australia, here in Melbourne, is the interest rate cuts. We believe inevitably are going to happen this year, whether it's one or whether it's two, time will tell. We've got the stock shortages, and especially new product shortages, which we think's a real interesting one and obviously really hits home here. Us being property developers, we deliver new stock. So a shortage of low stock based on projects that haven't gone ahead. You know, we definitely know of projects and, the new building approvals numbers that we follow closely. They've been trending down for a long time. So there's definitely going to be a lag of new properties coming to market. So, and that's definitely going to play out over the next 18 months. So that's definitely a driver. And you've got immigration that is happening more aggressively than it has in the last 3 years. So they're the drivers that we're seeing out there in the marketplace. Us as property developers, you guys as property developers, we feel like those three drivers we're excited about. We're excited to see play out and can definitely increase that development margin for everyone. So we are seeing people contact us, want to buy development sites. They see this as the bottom of the market. And if you can buy now and play out the next 2 years and that cycle, they definitely feel like if interest rates and shortage of new stock and immigration flows in, that can drive home prices, property prices, which then can increase the margin for the developer. And obviously that's what it's all about. So be interesting to see how it plays out. Just want to tell you guys straight, that's what we're feeling in here. Now let's get into it. We've got Gav back, Siteinsiders. If you know, you know. Welcome back to Siteinsiders. If you know, you know. And we're back here with Gav. Excited to be back in the office, Gav. And you're at the auctions on Saturday.
Yes, I went to an auction for a client for a property that we were looking at for them in Bentleigh East.
Yeah, nice. You were not successful, we'll preface, but
yeah,
still a lot of learnings.
Yeah, that's right. It's the first auction that we've been to with a client. A lot of our sites come to us off market. This particular one came straight to market. The client, or the vendor, wanted to sell at auction, so we didn't have a dip at it prior to that. There was about 50 people, I'd say, at the auction, maybe a little bit more. I'd say 4 bidders, and we bidded aggressively.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it came down to a family versus a developer, and the developer ended up picking up the site.
Go the developer. Were you surprised with the result overall? Did you think it would be as hot as what it was?
No, Look, it's a great location, and we'll get into that in a minute. It ticked a lot of boxes. There were a lot of people there. I think that people that are savvy in the marketplace, developers and savvy investors, they know that this is as good as it's going to get to buy
Yep.
property in the next couple of years at least. So people that have got the money or have been ready to go and are experienced, they're out on the ground and they're looking at sites now for sure.
Love it, Gav. Great insight. Now, let's get into the site. Why did this one
Okay, let's
prick our interest?
back onto Land Checker here. Let's zoom out. We're about 14 kilometres from the city in the southeast corridor of Melbourne. Not too far from the beach, your Brighton areas, which is great, but also for us it's in the Glen Ira council area, which is always easier to work with. A good council, we like working with them. Also, just at this spot here, you can see that we're on Parkmore Road. Now, Parkmore Road is the actual boundary for McKinnon High School. So the McKinnon Secondary College, the main campus is just over here. The new campus, they call it the East Campus, is just here. And then you've got GSAC here. The boundary is literally on Parkmore Road. If you're on the south side of Parkmore Road, you're not going to McKinnon.
Yeah.
So
that's a bit of intel that it's important, if you're going to these auctions and in the marketplace, one side of Parkmore to the other side, there's a genuine price difference.
be 100 to 150,000, I think.
Bang.
Both for land and also for townhouses, surely.
I feel like here in Melbourne, these school zones and the hot immigration that I mentioned earlier, I feel like these pockets they can nearly be markets inside markets.
We've already seen that as immigration has ramped up, talking to agents even late last year. Immigrants that come in that are cashed up, walking into good jobs because they're skilled.
Yep.
And they may or may not have family ties here. So, as you know, with Asian families, it's family, it's education, it's family, it's education. So, for them, they may not have ties to certain pockets or certain areas. So they're looking at the schools.
Yeah.
And that's where they're targeting.
Love it. So now let's get into this bad boy. 645 square metres. That sounds nice.
Yeah, it's great. It's north-facing backyard, which is always the first thing you look for. Yep. It's got a slightly wider frontage at 16 metres. So typically in this area as well, 15.2 is pretty standard. So getting a 16-metre frontage is just a bit of an extra bonus. Gives you a little bit more flexibility with the design.
So great frontage, Gav. Great orientation. Tick, and 645 square metres in neighbourhood residential zone 1. 50% site coverage. I'm seeing a lot of boxes. Tick.
Yeah, look, it's a great opportunity, and we'll go into the high res now. And what we can see here is it's a great front setback as well. You would have to think that it's probably 2 metres closer to the road than a standard front setback.
Yep.
What that does is not only have we already got 650 square metres, so you've got decent sized backyards already, but you're going to get a couple of extra metres in your usable space in your backyard, which is great.
I think that's a great point, because that's something when we dive deep into sites and we're looking at 645 square metres, 620 square metres, whatever it might be, if that front setback, if you're picking up 2 metres or 3 metres that maybe others aren't, and you got a 16 metre frontage, 16 times 2 or 3 metres, that means something in the backyard of these townhouses.
That's an extra 20, 30 square metres of usable backyard.
Yep.
That's grass.
That's amazing.
Yep. So one concern that did come up with this particular site was a tree over here on the side of the lot. We had our arborist go out and have a look. It was a native. It was a grade 2 native. So as long as we go through the process with the council, get a permit, that could be removed.
Nice.
So we nailed that before sort of continuing our due diligence. But apart from that, it's a great site. We planned on doing a couple of 28 square townhouses on it. Maybe we can flick over to the feasibility here. So we were aiming just for a couple of 28 square townhouses, 4-bed. It's a standard, I guess, starting point for where we look at.
Working from the top, that was our limit or somewhere around that,
Yeah,
which is no doubt our budget for Saturday.
It was, yeah. So we worked up to that number with our client based on comps in the area within the school zone, and also just south of that, there were some incredible results just next to GSAC there. So we used them. We came up with our maximum number for the day. I'm a numbers guy, so I go into an auction. I don't have emotion. I know we want to win.
Did you stop at that number, Gav?
I absolutely did.
Good man.
I may have gone a couple over, but no. We agreed that was the number, and even talking to the client on the ground on the morning, just sort of talking through if the auction's going to draw to a halt, because I typically I'll go in fairly aggressively. If it depends on the site, of course, and you understand who else is there on the day.
Yeah.
But I like to come back pretty quickly. That way, it's perceived that we're there to win it.
Yeah.
But if it's running out of steam right at our number, then a couple of thousands probably not going to break the bank.
So you have got a little license to stretch a little bit if warranted. Yeah, beautiful.
But certainly emotion doesn't take any part of it. So
no.
So it sort of creeped up. It came on the market and ended up bidding right through to 1.7.
Yeah, nice, great result, and probably franks the fact that it's a good site and it's well sought after. So obviously that's how we roll in here. We look at good development sites, and sometimes other people see them as well. So good result for the vendor there. So construction costs in your 25 grand a square there, which is common for us in that pocket, I'd say.
Yeah, in that pocket, on that side of East Boundary Road, the eastern side of East Boundary Road, for a couple of 28 square townhouses, you wouldn't want to go too much less than that. It's still, we do a great product at that price. So we've vetted that. We do build tenders all the time. Yeah. So in this particular case, the client, their lending conditions, they had cash to buy the land, which helped the project. Then we had our resales there at $2,050,000. So ultimately around a 15% ROI and $515,000 net profit. Yeah.
And that's fine. And that's the thing, I guess, working with a different client might have wanted to stretch their purchase budget, but this client wanted to stick with that. They've got time, so it's definitely about working with that particular client and figuring out their needs and wants.
Yeah, well, this is a buy and build and sell proposition for them. It's just a business transaction for them, and that's their approach. Yeah,
100%. Great work, Gav, and great work on Saturday. No doubt you'll be back with a buy soon enough. You'll get a W on the board. Yeah. But thanks for that insight, Gav. For anyone out there, that's super insight. Like I said, that's 5 days ago, essentially. That happened. Gav was at the auction with the client, and that result happened. Great result. I think the school zone definitely plays a role in those strong bidders and that
Absolutely,
sort of stuff.
Absolutely, it does, yeah. And different types of buyers. You've got families there as well who want to get their kids into the zone, and then you've got builders who know, or developers who know that your resales are going to be strong. And even investors, if you were to build 2 townhouses there, you could sell one and keep one, and your rental returns are fantastic as well. You'd be getting probably $1,200 to $1,300 a week.
Yeah, strong. Thanks, guys. It's another week of Siteinsiders with Gav. Great to have you back, mate. We're back in the office, back in HQ. Please, guys, stick around. We've got Project Snapshot with Claire coming up. Welcome back to Project Snapshot, guys. We're here. We're doing 23 Summit in Hampton East. Like I said, we spoke about it earlier on in an earlier episode, the episode prior. So please circle back to that one if you want to get the acquisitions and feasibility of it down pat. Here we're going to unpack the floor plans. It's now at build stage. Super exciting. Love what the projects team have done with it. We've got Claire, our head of projects here. It's her first time on the development tank. Get around her. Thanks for coming on, Claire.
Thanks for having me. I was actually out on site, and this is really exciting, this one.
So hot off the press. So this drops on Thursday. You're out there
last Thursday.
A week ago.
Yeah.
Love it. So hot off the press now. Gavin and I, we acquired the site circa 18 months ago. We wanted to get our 2 big homes on it. Can you walk us through how that worked out and what was achieved?
Well, great site. Given corner blocks are always a great site in the sense that this design brief that we put together was standalone homes and both with their own street frontage. That was a massive one for us, which you can see we've achieved.
Love it.
We also really wanted to capture the reserve across the road, the big park, in wherever we could, as well as much north-facing aspects as possible.
Yeah, okay, so you can see that. So the private open spaces in these early designs are obviously over your patios. So the north coming from the right-hand side of the screen, coming down to the top private open space there, and then you've got a side private open space here with a high fence, enjoying that north aspect as well.
Which you should be able to get some north aspect in there.
100%.
I suppose the other element of this brief for internals was genuine family homes, so making sure that the living and the meals and the space where you spend the most time, making sure that was really, they were big, they were spacious, they had a great butler's pantry. That was one of the main brief items, as well as, our 4-bed, 2-live-in, genuine master.
Yeah, perfect. How important do you think is that standalone element? Like, we do a lot of townhouses in here, and there's more that are attached than not. How important do you think that is from a sort of product perspective and, separating them from your standard townhouses?
I reckon we have this discussion a lot in the office. If it's going to compromise, if joining them or not joining them is going to compromise your overall spaces, then we'll join them. I think the bigger one for something like a summit, a corner site, is getting your own street frontages. I think that's a massive win. So I would rather achieve that than if we had to join this. I don't think that's going to hurt the overall resale. I think the key here, and probably, as you would say, where the money is you getting your own address. Yeah,
correct. I think that's a big one, and often you'll get probably your own number and your own street address. So the full numbers are good. And like you say, a design like this, potentially it lets some more natural light in where you can separate them, and sometimes it can maybe bring a buyer that has a maybe a perception and a stigma attached to townhouse living and hearing your neighbour and things like that. Sometimes it can bring them across the line and even sort of try and maybe justify more of a house resale than a townhouse.
Yeah, agree. It also, with these designs, you'll see versus a side by side single frontage, you'll see that we get quite a square design. This also, it's great for internals because you don't have a lot of wasted space with hallways and zones, but what it does do is your backyards doesn't really give you a spot to put your services, like your water tanks, your sheds, things that you want to hide. So if you can do that separation, you'll see when we get to the refined plans, you can hide some of your services down there, which is great. It's
a good point. I think the whole more sort of boxy design that is able to be achieved on these type of sites, like these are 28 squares overall of build, a 28 square boxy design versus a 28 square longer dual lock. I think they're a different proposition.
You get a lot, I think, especially like you've got double garages here. Whereas if we had a side by side, I would say with a 28 square home, you might get all of this, but you'd be a single garage.
You'd be a single garage, yeah, for sure. Now, I think you've sort of nailed all the zones. We'll work on ground floor first, but to hit a butler's, proper laundry, a dedicated study, downstairs master, is a great product.
Yeah, it's really good. And I should note we have 3 metre ceilings on ground floor, which we pushed for. We got it through. Probably jumping ahead there, but great. We did make that work, which will make these spaces feel even bigger.
Yeah, and especially I think looking out to the space of the reserve, that's a real win. So if you take us upstairs, can you talk us through what was achieved up there, and obviously acknowledging this was the initial floor plan that we're looking at here?
We haven't, I don't know if I said before, but these came back quite good in terms of hitting the brief, and the spaces weren't clunky. They flowed quite well. We have made a few tweaks, as we always do at interiors, but generally speaking, we got it pretty right, or the designer did, which was great. But here, reserves down in this pocket, you've got your master bed in this corner. We're actually really excited about both masters. The walk-in robes are huge. The en-suites are a great size. This retreat on this unit 2 should also get some great aspect of the reserve. And then I'm jumping around a little bit here, but jumping back here to unit 1, that retreat will get a perfect view as well.
Yeah, great. A lot of storage in these. Walk-in robes are great by the looks. And even I'm seeing on the right-hand side unit, I'm seeing bathroom, separate powder, and a massive ensuite, and that's been achieved on both. So, like for me, it's ticking all the boxes of a family home. Like you said earlier, the 2 livings, the 4 beds, 3.5 bath. Obviously, putting your powder in there as well, and heaps of storage, heaps of natural light. And not that it's on these plans, and we'll probably get to it on the next plan, but what is going on with the ceiling heights up here?
So they have a raked ceiling. It gets tweaked a little bit when we get to the next one, but essentially a raked ceiling where the ceiling line will follow the underside of the roof line.
Yeah, great.
Which again creates more height.
So it creates like a pitch in there, higher ceiling heights, the space, more space. It definitely creates that higher end feel. So if we go to the ultimate town planning set,
yes,
that ultimately was endorsed. As guys, we are up to the build on these. As Claire said, she was out there the other day, so we did start the build late last year. These are the plans that they got endorsed. Okay, so here we've got the further progress plans and the ultimate town planning stamped plans. As you can see, more detail on them, and like Claire mentioned earlier, we've got the services tucked away, Claire.
Yeah, one of I think everyone in the office, but these townhouses, you don't get massive backyards, so it's really important to save any space you possibly can. So to get rid of your services, or not necessarily get rid of them, but hide them, just to, let's say, savour this area as your hero space is really important. We spent a bit of time on this during the endorsement phase with council. So we've tucked, as you can see, a water tank around here. We've tucked the shed around here, a clothesline, water tank around here, and then keeping these spaces out the back. This is your north face living. This will get some north face aspect as well, but keeping those free of everything. And essentially then we have grass and landscaping, and it becomes that entertaining delight.
I think that's a great point, because when you don't put that work in and you don't have that forward thinking, you can get to the end and your plans are stamped and the builder's building, and then suddenly you're halfway through the build or 3/4 of the way through the build, and you step out to that patio out there, which, like you say, it's going to be your hero, it's your entertaining space, and suddenly you've got a water tank, you might have a hot water service, you might have a shed, all these things that just take away from that final aspect and take away from landscaping opportunities and that ultimate sort of vibe out there. So yeah, that's a good point, and good work on getting them tucked away before council endorsement. And
probably just on that, this space, obviously on your street, which your private open space usually isn't on your street. So we've put in the, I suppose, effort and spent a bit of extra money to make sure this is a solid wall here. So that will create a really nice space. Yeah,
100%. Now upstairs on the town planning set, I think it talks about the raked ceiling that you mentioned earlier.
Yep, so we've added a raked ceiling here into both the retreat and the master bed. We've also, I don't know if I can zoom in here, you might be able to see we've actually increased the window sizes from the original plans just to get as much of that reserve view as possible. Yep. And then if we move over, we also have the raked ceiling both in the master and the retreat again.
Yeah, that's going to give really good feels when you're up there, and that really sort of high-end feel. So great work on those. Now, how did you go with doing your facades, and what kind of look did you set out to achieve?
Okay, so here is a snapshot of the facades. Again, like we said, their own street. They've got their own identity to a degree, right? So they're talking to each other.
So the facades, you were saying that they've both got their own identity, but they still need to talk to each other?
That's it. They're still one development, but they've got their different elements. You'll see this one is facing the reserve. We've gone to the effort of doing the rake ceilings, which has allowed us to maximise that window space. So the light coming in, although it is south facing, you will get constant light in that space. So the more window space you can, or glazing I should say, you can get in those areas, especially because we're not a direct north facing unit, it's really important. We've gone with a feature brick tile. So it won't be brick itself, but it's a feature brick tile to give that look of brick, which I think is really nice. It's probably a little bit higher end, it's quite expensive, but in this area, I think it will go really well.
And I think I like the way you guys have probably limited the amount of it. You've just used it in areas that are going to create a pop, and then probably just wound it back in other areas to sort of amplify that great spec you've done there, but not costing the world and wrapping the whole building in it.
Yeah, and I think we find, which I'm sure you'll agree, is the lesser materials, the lesser colours with these townhouses, they're quite a presence on the street. So just keep it simple. Like we've got 3 colours here. And that, I think, is enough.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, because when you see them on a set of plans like this, and this is for anyone sort of at this stage of their project, when you see them on plans like this, you've got your white backdrop. And it's sort of like, oh, are they doing enough? Are they too simple? But when you put them in their natural habitat, which is on the street with other neighbours, trees, roads, all sorts of colours and all sorts of things going on, the less can definitely be more.
Speaking of natural habitat, should we look at the renders?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, fantastic. So fair to say these are a work in progress currently, but geez, it gives you a good look at what they are, and the depth and scope, and they look fantastic.
Yeah, they look great. So these are what we call a white card. So we haven't added in the material and colours just yet, but like you said, it shows you the form, it shows you the presence they're going to have on that corner. It shows you this solid wall, which that's your private open space just here. It shows you how much impact that glass is going to have above, and the fact that they're quite separate. They both have their separate entrances, which I think is great. You're not near your neighbour, and not to mention that reserve. I was there, like I said, I was there last week. I want to buy one.
Amazing. And they got your Porsche in the picture as well.
Yeah, that's
but looking from this angle, for me, that one on the corner, and based on the Feeso, we probably haven't really separated out which one would be worth more. Obviously, design-wise, they're quite similar in ticking boxes, but wow, looking at this, like that picture is from the reserve. That one on the corner that's facing the reserve, you feel like could definitely command a premium. But yeah, these are looking really good. And for everyone sort of playing at home, these are renders we're getting. Our client is looking at putting them on the market and trying to get some interest from an off-the-plan place, which is exciting for them to maybe try and knock one off before completion, which will help on holding costs, and all that sort of stuff. So getting these renders looking as good as possible. And I think this property is quite special. So putting them on the market at an early stage, I don't think would be a bad thing, and generate some interest. And like I said, maybe you sell one, maybe you auction one at the end, but to sort of hedge your bets and have one sold and able to be settled on completion is a pleasure. Claire, can you give us just a little update? So they are getting built, things are ticking along, all things going smoothly out there?
Yep, we've finished framing. They're currently doing roofing. Like I said, I was out there last week. I was actually standing in this space here, and it's a good feeling. It's a great spot. They're moving quickly. They're on target. They should be completed come spring, just pre-spring. Pre-spring
for a spring campaign, unless they get knocked off the plan. So fantastic. That's super exciting. Thanks for the update, Claire. We could probably circle back later in the year and maybe bring you guys the finished product, maybe when there's furniture in them or whether they've been sold, but we can definitely look at bringing you guys the results when they come to hand. But thanks for that, Claire. We'll see you next week for another Project Snapshot.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Please, guys, thanks for hanging around if you're still here. That's a ripper project. Plenty more where that come from. Next week we'll be back. Same channel, same time. Please continue with the engagement. Any questions after this, I'll be on the computer waiting for your questions right now. So once you're finished, jump in, do some questions, and we'll be in there, guys. Claire might even jump in if we're lucky. Thanks, guys. Happy developing.